the water, I mean, where the water should go, to sit and percolate down into the ground in a sheet flow or a non-concentrated way. Your stormwater regulations that are being promoted by EDM now are encouraging that type of approach as opposed to the old way of putting it in a pipe and then directing it into a hole or into a wetland. So I wouldn't be afraid of saying that.
As long as we're not about something structural.
No,
yeah.
No, it's not structural, and it's the Planning Commission's determination that we approve this stormwater design.
Well, could you add to that last sentence and that this is, something to the effect, we encourage this, but not retention ponds.
Not non-structural.
Non-structural.
Is that
filtration?
Is that later?
Yeah.
Is that
Well, it's a principle.
It's a principle.
All right.
Non-structural ways of accomplishing
Yeah.
that. Works to that effect.
Well, what's the alternative to a retention pond? A marsh? Is that what we're really
But I
talking
think what
about?
we're saying is that, I think what he's saying is, and it makes a lot of sense, is that the open space itself will retain or provide groundwater infiltration naturally, and that you don't have to provide possibly the retention and detention areas anymore.
Just some of the marsh.
I thought he was saying that if you're
Or
going to
they
add them,
provide them and then that's an overflow, or, whatever the design is, that it, that they.
And what you don't want to say is keep your stormwater off of the open space. Then you're
Right.
creating problems.
Okay, so you are saying that you might not need the stormwater detention drains.
Or that they may flow, from there into the open space naturally.
But the whole point is not to put the drains or the detention ponds on the open space.
Right. Or you can, but it has to be specifically permitted by the Planning Commission.
Stormwater drainage design is something, that whole science is changing now. You're going to be addressing that, I'm sure, with your regulations in the next few years. I'm not doing that here. I'm just simply saying that open space can be used as one of the solutions for treating stormwater.
Lisa, did you have others?
Yeah, the only other thing is on the second page, the conservation development paragraph and the conservation subdivision planning paragraphs. I agree that the first paragraph should go in the future land use section. I just had a question about the conservation subdivision planning also going after that in the future land use section, and that it could possibly be more appropriate in the open space agricultural and recreational section of the comprehensive plan under conservation and open space functions. It just seemed like it might fit better there, but that's something that we can look at. And then my only other comment was that when we talk about the affordable housing plan on page 3 at the bottom, it's not barriers to affordable housing development, that's in the assets and resources section. It's minor detail. And on the last page, we are...
Barriers is what?
On the last page there.
The one you just said, it's not barriers to...
It's just citing the wrong section that it's in, that's all.
So it's in a different section?
Yeah, it's not barriers to affordable housing development, it's in the assets and resources.
It's in,
Section.
sorry, what? And
Assets and resources.
Oh, assets, thank you.
And that on the next page, the language that is going to be added to the affordable housing plan, which is the housing element of the comprehensive plan, is that we're assuming in that paragraph that we do the zoning and subdivision provisions first, because we're saying that it was already amended and we adopted,
In 2010, that's a placeholder. I mean, if you adopt this in 2011, you've got to change that language.
Right. But we're saying that these conservation development provisions were already approved. Right. The new provisions for conservation development are intended.
Can we say correspondingly to town amended?
Yeah, since this will be the first step, they're not already going to be already done. Just needs a bit of relook, and that's all. Yeah. Right.
Regarding your second comment, Lisa, moving conservation subdivision planning to another section, where is the cluster housing or cluster subdivision planning in the comprehensive
Yeah, it's spread around.
There's
So
no,
this is
there's
not-
no one section that
Okay.
just explains cluster
So
development.
this is not just replacing it.
No, this is.
Right.
Right.
Right. And I'm saying it could stay there, it's just that when you look at the rest of that section, future land use, it kind of touches on different topics, paragraph by paragraph, and that this would be an obvious, very large section for that section. And that we may want to just break it up and put that first paragraph in the future land use, and the rest of it, which is really more explanation, in the open space section, that's all. I mean, it's not mandatory or
Sure.
required, it was just kind of a suggestion. And that's it.
So I heard that we're going to clarify the stormwater on page 1.
Pardon me?
We're going to clarify the stormwater in open space as being non-structural, stormwater mitigation. We're going to move the conservation subdivision planning to the open space section.
Starts on 120.
And we're going to wordsmith the beginning of that first paragraph of subdivision planning to be consideration. We can always change it. We can wordsmith it again if we need to after we make the determination on the word mandatory. And so we're going to tone that down. We're going to tone
We
the...
had a vote on whether we want to turn that down.
Well, I suggest that we're not damaging the document by wordsmithing it a little bit. We're making it a little more neutral, and then we can see whether it's impacted depending on our decision later.
Doug, I think, Tony, when you do that, if you just leave the old wording in, and then cross out the new wording, and then we can at least have it there. We decide later when to keep it.
As an edited
Yeah,
document.
as an edited, yeah. Track changes or something like that. Sure.
Well, this is all new language, so
Right.
it wouldn't affect this section.
Yeah.
We're just saying leave the old language in
Leave the old language in.
place.
Oh, gosh,
Suggested.
then we're having like changes to the changes. It makes it confusing. I wouldn't want to see changes to the changes. I don't mind changes from the original.
Not into the final, but I think what Chris is saying is
For our-
when we see the second draft, it would be helpful if we could see what was changed.
I can do draft number 2 and track changes,
Yeah.
which would be, a red color for
Right.
anything that's different.
Right.
Then you can just click on it and get rid of all the
Right.
colors that's in the document.
Page 3, the second paragraph, full paragraph, we're changing the word should. Again, it's a wordsmithing issue. We don't need to say anything in that fourth paragraph, or third paragraph about state law. It's just that it's the private ownership
If
is
you should
allowed.
decide not to allow private ownership for the open space, then I'll just take that paragraph out.
Okay, all right.
But we're going to talk about that under zoning, not right here.
And then we're going to do a little more wordsmithing on page 4 in that paragraph to straighten out the fact that we're sort of working on these things in a corresponding and collaborative manner. Okay. We have 35 minutes unless we vote to extend the meeting. You don't get a vote.
That's just my opinion.
I think we should look at zoning next.
Okay.
And I apologize for not adding page numbers to the zoning text, so
Well, maybe we should see that.
if you want to put them in right now, so we can avoid confusion. Should be 10 pages.
Can we ask Tony to summarize the major changes in here? That's probably the easiest way to do that.